the real challenge is this internal work that it often takes for people to manage their emotional state. It's like we're all broadcasting stations, we're all transmitting how we think and how we feel. Well, when it comes to stress and burnout, I think it's something that everyone has experienced in some way, shape or form. But I think the real challenge is people not realizing the impact is actually happening to them. In fact, most people are probably unaware that they're heading towards burnout. And this is all to do with the dysregulation of our nervous system. The reality is, for most people today, they don't even know that they're in a state of mild anxiety. Sometimes it's more than mild, but they think that that is normal. It's become normal. And what we have to do is actually create a new normal. And this is quite easy to do when you're working with athletes, because athletes, when they're performing, they become much more aware of how their state actually affects their performance, actually affects their results. So it's absolutely imperative to help people stop or slow down and pause and actually look at what they're doing, because we can't fix what we don't ignore. But once we become aware, that's definitely the first step to helping people change the way they think, changing the way they feel, and changing the way they perform. Well, the fact is, as human beings, we're not designed to thrive. We are designed to survive. That's what's part of our DNA, and really that's why we're still here today, because we found a way to survive. But the reality is that most people are actually in survival mode most of the time, and they think that that is normal. So if you think of an animal, let's say a zebra, for example, that's running away from a lion, that stressed response, that survival response kicks in. But once it knows that it is safe, that survival mode turns off, because it can't maintain that state forever. It would kill the animal. And unfortunately for humans, in many cases, we're not switching off. We are staying in survival mode. So in order to learn how to thrive, we have to face up to the reality of how we're actually living. Thriving really is about occupying the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the part of our bodies that is responsible for relaxation, for repair. And unless we learn to switch on and switch off between these two modes, we will never perform at a level that we're actually capable of. Well, look, everyone has a story to tell, but I think I've probably spent most of my life trying to outrun myself. I had what is known as hurry sickness, or just being busy. In my 20s, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue and ME, which I had for about 10 years. Basically, my immune system was attacking itself. But in 2023, one of the most difficult and most challenging things happened to me, which was my wife passed away after a 13-year battle with brain cancer. Now that stopped me in my tracks. The grief was so intense that I couldn't outrun it. It forced me to stop. And it really forced me to look at how I'd actually been living for so much of my life, and realizing that I don't actually have to live that way. So the hardest thing in my life has actually become this amazing gift, because it's really enabled me to be a better version of myself, a version of me that is calmer, more relaxed, more focused, more productive, and actually feel better than I've probably ever felt. Well, I was known for many years as a motivational speaker, and really what we know is that motivation never lasts. I could get up in front of a group of people and I'm sure I could get them motivated for a few moments. Motivation really means getting people to move. Unfortunately, what moves people in most cases is some sort of difficult situation. Something becomes uncomfortable. It forces them to actually change. In fact, what gets most people out of bed in the morning is some sort of pain, their bladder, they need to go to the toilet. Their motivation is to get out of pain. But real transformation comes where we can get people inspired about where they are and what is possible. Because as humans, everything we do is based on our relationship to the future. For years, we thought what people did was all to do with our past. Now, of course, our past affects our present, but what really shapes us is the way that we see the future. The real challenge in transformation is getting people to see a future where they can see that they are in the future. They can see that there's something for them in what can be done and created. And that's where real transformation occurs. If someone is overwhelmed and under pressure and they act from that place, the reality is they're not going to perform at their best. Intentional thinking really means that we stop or we slow down and we pause before we act. So really what we're doing is we are calming our nervous system down, because great intentions, we can all have good intentions. There's actually a famous quote that says the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But if the intention is coming from a stressed and anxious state, we're not going to produce the best results that we can. So intentional thinking really is about stopping, slowing down, pausing, taking a breath, and acting out of a state of awareness, acting out of a state of being calm, as opposed to acting out of a state of urgency and anxiety. What I've observed from many of the great leaders I've been able to coach and mentor is something called emotional regulation. What that means is their ability to manage their emotional state, because how we think and ultimately how we feel is something that is transmitted to the people around us. And if we want people to be calm, if we want them to be focused, if we want them to be energized, then ultimately we have to go first. But the real challenge is this internal work that it often takes for people to manage their emotional state. It's like we're all broadcasting stations, we're all transmitting how we think and how we feel. But great leadership, from my experience, has been people that have really learned emotional regulation and literally have been able to energize and inspire people just by their internal state, not actually by what they say. It's behind what we say that often is the difference, that makes the difference with great leadership. When I speak, the goal is always to leave people in a better place than when they came in. And ultimately, what we know is that people don't change when we tell them what to do. People change when their perspective changes, when people have an opportunity to look at something with a fresh pair of eyes and then feel empowered about taking action to actually change. Because at the heart of what I do, as much as I've been a keynote speaker for, dare I say, 30 years, I'm a coach. And the role of a coach is to help someone get better. In fact, the word coach actually comes from a Hungarian word, which means a coach and horses. Why would anyone go on a coach and horse? Well, they are somewhere, they want to go somewhere. And as a coach and as a speaker, my goal is, okay, where do we want to go? Giving people a perspective of a better place, and then helping them feel empowered about actually taking action to create a better future. Better future for them and a better future for the organization.